Hello and welcome to the FPL fan show. The double game week was an absolute disaster. Nacho, what did you make of it?
It's like we always get in FPL, isn't it? We hype these game weeks up so much. We expect triple digit figures and then we get absolutely wrecked by the game week, don't we? It's just such a false hope. It's kind of like Everton in a sort of Premier League chase, really, isn't it? They get your hopes up and then just all gone.
I can't believe you went there already. Like, you're going to get slated on tonight's stream. And don't forget, everyone, tonight we are playing the drinking game that is for me personally. So every time Nacho says for me personally, you have to take a drink. You know, it can be a cup of tea, it can be water, or it can be alcohol, like my little beer here. So
I'm
yeah,
strictly water, and I just can't help it. I really can't help it. So you're going to be drinking a lot, I think.
Oh, God, Jesus. Okay, so should we first just have a look at how we got on in the last game week?
Yes, yeah, let's have a look, mate. Let's have a look at this car crash of a game week.
It's awful, wasn't it? Okay, so this is my team first. So I scored 78 points. I used my triple captain chip, and somehow I've ended up on a red arrow. So let's just get this right. I've used my triple captain chip and ended up with a red arrow in a double game week that I've been preparing for weeks. I mean, isn't that mental?
Mate, how long have you played this game? Because you and I both know that the chip is one of the most overhyped chips going. Like, now and then we stumble across an absolute unicorn of a player who gets unbelievable returns. But
Wait. Did you just say a unicorn of a player? Who says a unicorn of a player?
Unicorn, just like a one-off.
Keep going.
Come on, guys, in the chat, please let me know if that is a saying that you've heard of before. It might be like a Southwest thing, maybe.
I don't think it's a Southwest thing, mate. But anyway, it was a car crash game week, and I think, most managers, at kind of half time in the double game week on Sunday were like, right, we've done okay, 60, 70 points, more games to go, we're going to do all right. And all of the games were just terrible from an FPL point of view, weren't they? Nothing came in.
That's exactly it. I think the last game week where we had Man City assets and then we had obviously the Spurs assets, a lot of us riding on triple captain Harry Kane, like we were all hoping for a big haul there, and he could have had it, but it just wasn't meant to be, and that kind of summed up the game week, really. Just a bit of a dead squib, really, whatever they call it.
Just let you know, you're getting ripped for saying unicorn already. Makes me really happy, actually. So thank you, everyone. Wow. Thank you, AD, for putting that in the comments. But yeah, no, it was bad. Let's just go through some of the players and the teams then. All right, so, Man City was a weird one, wasn't it? Because on Saturday, Stones and Diaz both did well. I was happy with Stones, and then he obviously gets a rest in the next one. Cancelo got a rest in the first one. Gundogan, he came on and got the assist, which is something. But City are a tricky one right now, aren't they? Because of the rotation seems to be getting worse. What are you thinking about City assets?
Yeah, it's such a tricky one with them because it's been so long now that we've had Pep at the helm, and he's just kind of been known as the rotation king. We kind of thought that Diaz was going to be the main man. We kind of established that going forward in terms of minutes. I think Cancelo was the guy who we kind of had as the high ceiling defender, and Stones as the kind of like cheap enabler in your side, and it kind of has panned out like that over the course of the season. It's just such a tricky one right now because in the midfield we're getting to that situation right now where KDB's returned and Gundogan is possibly going to get at more risk of rotation, whereas previously he was kind of the main man in that midfield. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one right now, mate, because we're expecting so much from this Man City side, and when we don't get it delivered, it's just a bit disappointing, really.
To be fair, mate, I'm just saying, someone called Daniel in the chat said Nacho is an underrated FPL manager. Do you know what? He is right. You are a very good FPL manager. Every year you're at what, 14k at the minute?
Yeah, 14k, and I appreciate that, Daniel, because that is certainly something I haven't been called before, so I'll take that, definitely.
But yeah, no,
I appreciate it.
City is a tricky one. Honestly, my thoughts on City assets at the minute are like, I'm kind of happy with them. There's other areas of my team that I need to sort out. Cancelo, even if he gets rested one game, he's going to start the next. And at some point, he's going to get a massive haul again. He's got to. He's going to do it. I think Stones is a little bit of a more... You could sell him because I think with Laporte there now, he's definitely going to get rotated more. But then again, if he plays, it's a nailed-on clean sheet, isn't it? So is it that big a worry? I'm not sure it is. And then Gundogan, I'm I'm really happy with, to be honest. I mean, what's your thoughts on Kevin De Bruyne at the moment?
Yeah, so I know you've got quite strong opinions of Kevin De Bruyne, which we'll touch on in a minute. But
I was right.
yeah, I think you were, mate, and with other things that we're to go on later about which you called. But I think, yeah, I'm gonna say I think Gundogan. You're gonna have situations here where you see Kevin De Bruyne at its price range, and he inevitably will haul, and then people will turn up and go, "Oh, come on, we were expecting this." And of course, it is going to happen with Kevin De Bruyne. He's a world-class player, but I think when we have to look at it from an FPL perspective, is he going to double the returns that Gundogan might offer at that price range? And I just don't see that right now. I think when you're building a squad, you really need to look at the price point of these players. And if Kevin De Bruyne is going to be returning double of what Gundogan returns, then fair play. But I just don't see it right now. I think the one caveat is you probably have a bit more belief in captaining Kevin De Bruyne, just naturally based on his FPL history and kind of just like the level of player he is. But right now, I need to see a bit more from Kevin De Bruyne to justify paying, what is it, 6 million more than Gundogan right now? I think you share the same thoughts, don't you, mate?
I do. I mean, I repeat what I said on the last stream, which is I don't think there's any need for Kevin De Bruyne. I think, he had a moment this season where he was fantastic, and he's a brilliant player. It's not they're not saying that. It's just Gundogan is literally half the price. He's playing much further forward. He's the one that's in the box and tapping those goals in. That's the player I want. If they were the same price, I'd maybe still even go Gundogan. The fact that Gundogan is half the price, he's a much better option. And, assists is 3 points, a goal's 5. Always go for the goal scorer. I think Gundogan is the better option. And we'll come on to captaincy later, but I'm thinking if I had the two, I'd still probably captain Gundogan.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it really. It's going to be quite interesting to see if Kevin De Bruyne gets thrown straight in and just plays every minute, or whether he gets eased in with this double game week coming up. I think he's probably going to play a lot of the minutes now going forward because he's such a key player. But again, Gundogan, no reason why that guy's going to get dropped.
A lot of people asking about the best City captain, and we'll come on to that later. I'll just answer a little one now. So I think Scott was saying he doesn't have any City players other than Stones. Who to captain? I think if you're in that position, I'd just captain Stones. he may play too. He may do,
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting one. I think there's a few players who have a single game week that have an argument to be captained. I would say the problem with captaining defenders, especially Stones and Diaz, is managers will look back over the past game week and be like, oh well, Diaz and Stones scored, like this could happen. I think like we need to take that into isolation on its own and think it's not every game week we're going to get a Stones or Diaz goal. So I think the FPL ceiling for defenders is a lot lower, and I think you have to go into the game week understanding that. But if you have that kind of mindset and you think to yourself, Stones is going to play both games, 6-pointer in both, I'll take that in a captaincy over a double game week.
Yeah. I mean, if we just look at the other players in my team, so I mean, I was quite disappointed with Nick Pope, to be honest. I thought he would get one clean sheet in one of those games, so that was disappointing. Now, I did have one come in. What's that player called, mate? That Tottenham fullback that I brought in last week?
Oh, the really tasty
the
dish,
one that the pasta dish. What's he called?
Regulian. No,
Region.
It's funny, I got tweeted with the actual video where he actually pronounces his name to kind of justify it, and I've been practicing it a little bit.
So good.
We're going to go... So whereas I want Regulian, I believe Region.
Oh, well done, mate. Do you know what? For a guy that speaks Spanish, you're doing all right there. I'll give you that. All right.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn many languages.
Yeah. But so what is it? Regulian? Region. Region. Okay. But yeah, I mean, Region, do you know what? In that first game when he got the assist and clean sheet, I thought I've hit the jackpot here. I thought absolutely hit the jackpot. And he changes that whole Spurs side, honestly, right? When he plays, the space that Son gets on that side and it helps Bale on the other side, he really makes that team tick. And I think he's a really fantastic option going forward. Now, yes, I was really annoyed that he got benched against Fulham. And you could see the difference he made. They're just not as fluent without him, the space he creates. But now is a great time to bring him in. The price he is, they play in 29. They got Crystal Palace, and he's probably going to play now he's been rested. I think Region is actually a really fantastic option going forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we called it a few weeks back about bringing him in as almost a differential option, and whereas a lot of people are targeting the Spurs assets offensively, which is totally natural. I think if you were looking at one defensive option, it's him or nobody else. I think there's an argument about Lloris bringing him in, which of course is definitely an option, but I think Regulian definitely is the better option. I think he's a price point which is quite difficult to kind of go into. But for me personally, I think...
Oh, Nacho just said for me personally, everyone, take your drink, have a sip.
What is that? That's got to be
10 minutes in and he's already cracked.
What was the sweepstake on that?
Oh, God, I could be in a bad place after this stream.
To conclude on Reguilon, I think that he is a very good differential option for Game Week 29 if you're building a squad to a wild card afterwards.
Yeah, no, I agree. If we just look at some of the other players, we'll touch on Salah and Fernandes in a bit more detail and what we should do with them. But yeah, I mean, Leeds. What is it with Leeds and kind of double game weeks? What's going on there?
Yeah, I feel for managers here who have been relying on possibly bench boosting with these or putting all the eggs in one basket on them returning. They're such a hard team to predict because whenever I own Leeds assets, so I've had Rafinha and Bamford, looking at their stats, their underlying stats, and the way they perform this season, I was kind of just thinking that they're going to be all goals, conceding loads in every game, but it really hasn't panned out that way. And I think we have to remember that these are still a lead side who are still adapting to the Premier League. They're not going to be going gun-ho and winning 5-4, 3-4, all these sort of kind of results. I think these sort of results are expected. We need to remember that these are still a side who have just come up into the Premier League, and one thing I will say is what a baller Rafinha is, and I think he's an unbelievable asset.
Yes.
Not only for Game Week 29, but going forward. I think I've seen enough from him from the underlying stats and eye test to think he could return against anybody.
He's just everything you want in an FPL asset, isn't he? I mean, he's on all the set pieces. He is so attacking. And even on that dreadful pitch, he looks fantastic. Leeds are a bit of a difficult one to call, aren't they? It's really hard to tell when they're going to do well. And it's kind of interesting that in both double game weeks, they've kind of let bench boosters down, haven't they? So that is disappointing. But you know what? Like, I'm happy holding Rafinha and Bamford going forward. I think there's points there. And if you own them, you keep them, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. If you're building a Game Week 29 squad, then you really do need to just hold on to them assets because they're going to pay dividends just fielding them when some managers aren't even going to have a squad.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's talk about the triple captainship, shall we? Because I believe you played it as well, didn't you, on Harry Kane?
Yeah, went the exact same as you, mate.
Oh, my God. This chip, I hate this chip. Do you know what? I think you're better off just chucking it in a random game week. Or like I said, the end of the season, my theory, and you probably do better. But then Harry Kane, right? Just tell me this. The best finisher in the league, usually he scores, he should be scoring 3 or 4 from the chances he had. What the hell was going on?
Yeah, no, this was written in the stars, wasn't it? This was destiny. The chances that
you sound like Tiny Temper, mate. You all right?
What's that? Sorry?
You sound like Tiny Temper, the rapper. Like the intro, written in the stars. Keep going, mate. Go on.
Who knows? Man of many talents, doppelganger to Nacho Monreal.
It's true.
Many talents.
But yeah, Harry Kane, go on, give me your thoughts. What happened?
Yeah, I think this was totally predictable, wasn't it? This was always going to happen when we triple captain him. I think, firstly on the triple captainship, like, I see people play it in Game Week 1, and I think to myself, what are you doing? Like, how much of a risk is it? But really, on reflection, like, it's simple. If you think a player is going to be returning the most points in that game week, do not be fearful to play it in any game week that it plays. Now, of course, the argument is that you can hold it for later in the season, get a double game week, and then play it then. But really, we've had enough experiences to know that sometimes the double game weeks aren't the best time to play them. The FPL ceiling is certainly higher. Don't disagree that at all. But I just think sometimes, if you see a single game week fixture that you really like on a player, just go for it.
Yeah, definitely. It is a really tricky chip. I mean, guys, let us know in the chat how you got on with your bench boost and your triple captainship. Did any guys do better? Was there any, Bale triple captains out there or defenders? I've seen a few Luca Dean ones, and I said, didn't I? I said Luca Dean's a great option for this week, and congratulations to those people who captained or even triple captained him. That's madness, but well done.
You love that guy.
No, I do. All right, should we have a look at how you got on, mate?
Yes, let's have a look. Yeah. Okay. It's one of those really where for me, I'm not going to say personally then, so it doesn't count.
No, come on, we need a drink.
We were talking about this game week, weren't we? Saying about how it was a bit of a car crash. And to be honest, looking at it now afterwards, I think it's actually been an okay game week. I think 94 points with a triple captain. I think I would have taken it, really. So just to kind of look over the team that I made 2 transfers going into game week 26, and that was Matt Targett and Harry Kane in. And they, in a way, they paid dividends. Matt Targett, 7 points. Harry Kane, obviously, the 1 goal. We'll move on from it. But all in all, I'm happy with the way my team's kind of set up. As we mentioned, the likes of Gundogan, I think Rafinha, Harry Kane. For those who are watching and don't know, I am building a squad for game week 29 free hit to then wildcard in possibly 30 or 31. So right now I have a few players who are featuring in that blank game week, and I'm going to be trying to build in my players going forward. But very similar position to you, mate. Double Man City defence. Gundogan is my midfielder. Really happy with that going forward. I don't see enough from Stones getting rotated to drop him. He's too good of a price.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mark in the chat has summed up this game week pretty well. He said he only had 2 goals from his team, Stones and Kane. Meant to be the biggest double game week ever. What a farce. And that was it. I mean, we built this up, didn't we, as the biggest double game week ever. And it was just a complete letdown.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that because the games are so close together? Might be. So maybe we need to think of next season. But it was a tricky one. I mean, but you're in quite a good position. I mean, obviously, targets them up. I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold. God, you gave me a bit of stick about keeping him, didn't you?
Yeah, God. I was so glad he got on them bonus points, at least in that first fixture. But again, just Liverpool against Chelsea. Now, obviously a Chelsea fan, and I'm going to be a bit biased here, but Chelsea were a much better team in that fixture. And Liverpool are just a broken team right now. I'm really not sure what's going on there, but I own currently Trent and Salah. And if I was coming in right now to wipe this team out, they both would be gone out of the squad, because Trent at his price point has been an embarrassment for me to own him this long, because there is just no justification to owning a player at that price point with the underlying stats and the returns that he's had. So I will say that you were correct, mate, last week about holding him. It was a bit of a lucky one with the bonus points, but yeah, I don't know why I've held the Trent this long. And I think a lot of people in the chat are probably going to own possibly Salah. So I think we should probably cover a bit of Salah and what our thoughts are on him right now, mate, because obviously got hooked in a game which they needed to win. So surprising.
Funny you should say that, mate. It's a very nice segue. All right, let's talk about some of the hot topics of the game week then. So, all right, Mo Salah. Right, I think Salah has only returned, I think it's 3 out of the last 13 games. So, scored 3 goals in 13 games now. Now, that's really not good enough for an asset that's, about 12.5 million. That's just not good enough. Liverpool are in complete disarray. I think it was worth saying they were, I mean, you can tell me your thoughts on the Chelsea-Liverpool game, but I think they were better in the Chelsea game. But I believe he was taken off because I think he wasn't tracking back and Klopp wasn't happy. Now, I mean, a lot of people are talking about selling Bruno, and we'll come on to that next. But Mo Salah, do we think about selling him? What do you think?
Yeah. Like, if you said to me, are you going to sell him before a home match against Fulham last season, I would literally be like, what are you on? Honestly, like, we all know this. Mo Salah against bottom 12 teams is usually an absolute guaranteed captaincy. And the fact that we are not even considering him as not only a captain, but also just like even an asset in this game week is absolutely ludicrous and kind of shows the position that Liverpool are in. Whether you sell him or not, I think is completely dependent on your squad right now and the strategy that you have. So currently they have Fulham at home and then followed by Wolves away. And I do think that they are going to be 2 tricky fixtures for them. Wolves have shown that they are kind of still able to field a defensive side that can, keep out teams. But importantly, Fulham are no pushovers now. Like, they've shown defensively that they can put up against some of the best teams. And I don't think that Salah's necessarily going to be getting a haul in this game. However, I do think that he isn't a desperate sell. I still think that he has the potential of these 2 fixtures. I can't see Klopp dropping him. I think, it's a really tricky one for managers. And we'll talk about our plans going forward with him. But what are your thoughts on him right now, mate? Because I think that he's a luxury sale, even though his performances have been awful. Yeah,
I'll give my thoughts on him. I think Taran in the chat says he's no goals from open play in Anfield for a long time. I think for Salah, that's about right. And I mean, you'll enjoy this one. Another mad stat is that Everton have actually scored more goals at Anfield this year than Liverpool have, and we're in March. Wow. I mean, that is mad. That is absolutely nuts, isn't it? Like, but anyway, and Salah, it's tricky because you're right. Fulham, and Mark's saying in the chat as well, that Fulham's defensive stats have actually been pretty good recently, and they're a good team, and defensively they're quite good. So that's a really tricky game for Liverpool. It might not look it, but it is. I wouldn't be surprised if Fulham get a draw or even win, to be honest, especially with all Liverpool's injuries.
Yeah.
So I think we should be open to selling Salah. I really do. I think for the money he's just not returning enough. The only difficulty is when you compare Bruno and Salah, and we'll come on to it, the Man City game is a lot harder for United. I think there's more chance of Salah scoring against Fulham than there is of Bruno against City. And I think most people this week are in the position of, do I sell Salah or do I sell Bruno? I think I'd be more thinking Bruno just because of the fixture. But I don't know. I mean, maybe should we come on to Bruno? Should we talk about Bruno Fernandes?
Yeah, because I do think that this is quite a popular problem people have right now, where they own both Bruno and Salah and don't necessarily want to sell both. So they're kind of tossing and turning, which one do we sell for this game week in particular? Let us know in the chat, obviously, if you are in that situation similar to us, where you have Salah and Fernandes, because I think there's an argument to sell either, but I'm leaning towards selling Fernandes of the two. I really do think that Man City away, the current form that they're in with the kind of defensive stats that they're posting, I wouldn't even argue people benching him, because he is against a team who just, you don't get chances really. So I don't think he's going to get in a haul. And then you look at the following game afterwards for Man United, they have West Ham at home. Well, West Ham have been pretty decent recently. So you're effectively got two really tough fixtures followed by a blank game week. So I really do think that on the face of it, I still prefer Salah's fixtures over Bruno's. What's your thoughts?
I agree. I think, Victor said in the chat that Jota is back as well. And I actually think that might help Salah, because I think it takes a bit of the pressure and people can't man-mark him out the game. So I think I like Salah. I do think he's a reasonable keep, obviously on penalties. And the fixtures are okay. So I'm not desperate to sell him, but I do understand why people are thinking about doing it. Bruno is a really, really tricky one, because this is the top scoring player in the game. He's been the best player in FPL this season, the most consistent. He usually gets someone every game, and he's going to continue to be consistent and fantastic going forward. I think why we're thinking of selling him is because, us real hardcore FPL managers are thinking, a lot of us are doing the strategy where we're kind of dead ending our teams for about 30. We're just trying to get a team for 29, and that's the reason. When you think of, it's Man City next, who, United don't score against most of the top sides. It's always bloody 0-0. So it's probably going to be 0-0 or 1-0 to Man City. Okay, so that's a blank. Then they've got West Ham, who are doing really well. I think Declan Rice would probably mark him out the game. And then it's the blank. And then Brighton afterwards, well, you never know what you're going to get with Brighton, but they have been good defensively. Decent. Yeah, good defensive stats. So if those, you got 3 games and 1 blank. Well, that's not good. That's when you look at it like that, that's not good. So there definitely is a case to sell Bruno. Now, where my issue is, and I want to know your thoughts, is I bought Bruno right at the start before he went big. I think I got him, I don't know what it was, 11.5. So if I sell him now, I'm going to lose out on about 0.5, 0.6 million. So when I wildcard, it's going to be very hard for me to get him back. That's what I worry about. And I know value isn't everything, and it's towards the end of the season, but 0.5 is a lot when you're trying to build a wildcard team. What's your thoughts on the value in him?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the value is an important aspect. As you mentioned, though, when we are building a wildcard team, for those who are doing the same strategy, you're basically building a wildcard team for possibly only 7 game weeks, I believe, maybe 8 game weeks. And I really do think that if you are in a position where you are selling Fernandes, I wouldn't personally be pulled. Oh, I said personally again, mate.
I missed that one. Have a drink, everyone.
I do think that selling Fernandes is a solid move. I wouldn't be worried about the team value, because we were building a squad for 7 game weeks. I think there's value in the Liverpool team. I think you can bring in Jota, that could cover Salah. I think Gundogan is a Man City asset that could cover them as well. So I think selling Fernandes is justified.
Mate, big news. We have our first ever super chat. So,
oh, wow.
I know. Wow. Incredible. So Victor B, very kind. Thank you, Victor. We really, really appreciate it.
Wow, that's super generous. Thank you very much, mate.
He says, just because I like you, somebody likes a Snatcher. I can't believe it. And keep an eye on Jota. He says, trust me, the way I trust you with Dean. Oh, that's beautiful. That's going to make me cry. Thank you, Victor. So it says, question for both. Foden or Gundogan for captain? Stay safe, guys. Right, I think this is a really... It's tricky because I think Foden was rested in the last game, was he? I believe. But I would still go Gundogan, I think. I go Gundogan because I think he's so important to the way City play. And I think knowing he's had that rest in the last game, you know he's going to play against Man United. And there's a reasonable chance he plays against Southampton. Whereas I think Foden, he's more on-off, you know, and you never quite know. So I think I would play it safe and go with Gundogan.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, firstly, thank you very much, Vic. That is seriously generous, so thank you very much. But I agree. I think Gundogan would be my pick. I think Foden has an FPL ceiling which is higher. I think if you actually analyze his value in terms of minutes played per points, I think it probably is decent. But I think when you come to a decision like that, you need to really cover the basis, game time, form, things like that. And I think Gundogan ticks those, whereas Foden doesn't. So yeah, I would go Gundogan as captaincy if you're picking of the two.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of the chat are very split as well on the Salah Bruno debate. I mean, CJ says, Hart says keep Bruno, Brain says keep Salah. I mean, I think that's where I'm at, and I'm trying to go with my brain. I think it's keep Salah, sell Bruno, if you think about it. Mate, the super chat's flying in now. So CJ again says, cheers guys, keep up the great work, and Nacho, please don't want to get drunk this early. Mate, people are getting hammered in the chat because you keep saying it for me personally already.
Oh man, no, thank you very much, CJ. That's absolutely, super generous. I'm going to try not to get you too drunk. I've been smart and just got water because I know how often I do say it, and I'm not trying to say it as like a joke. Like, we literally talk off camera and I say it all the time.
That's my head in.
It is it's such a flaw of mine that I've realised.
I know. Anyway, right, back to the FPL. Shall we have a look at how I'm set up for the next game week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how I'm currently at. So I used 2 free transfers last week. Obviously, I bought in Region and Kane, and I think that worked out reasonably well. Kind of happy with that. So there's 2 issues in my squad that I want to address. Okay, so the first one is the goalkeeper, right? So obviously I had McCarthy, and I thought, double game week, even though he's against City, I thought that'd be all right. So he's out of the Southampton squad now. So that's a complete waste of time. Southampton aren't looking good anyway. So I don't know how comfortable I'd even feel playing him in 2 fixtures. I think you're in the same position, aren't you, with the goalkeepers? And then there's Pope against Arsenal. And do you know what? I think Arsenal are about to go on a good run. I honestly do. I think Arsenal are going to be dark horses for getting in that kind of top 5, top 6. I think they've got a very good run fixture to the end of the season. They always do this every year. They have a good run around this time. I know they have Europa League, and that will affect them and the players, but I think they're going to go on a good run here. So that Burnley game is a tricky one to call. But goalkeeper, McCarthy, Pope. Now, obviously, I'm looking at Martinez. Every week, Martinez gets a haul in it. Absolutely kills me. So
honestly, how have I not owned that guy? Honestly, like people. Somebody mentioned about being a good manager. How have I not owned Martinez? Jesus Christ! Like, that guy's been unbelievable value. Just to touch on what you said, mate, about McCarthy and Pope. Yeah, I really do think we're both in a position right now this game week where we almost just put our hands up and just say we're going to get a 2-pointer. Really, some game weeks this happens. I think McCarthy obviously rotated straight away, red flag there, and then again we spoke about it before. The Man City asset is just you just write that one off, really, especially away. I think that's just, you're not keeping a clean sheet there, really, are you? So I do think that I would probably go with Pope and just hope to get the save points, really.
Yeah. Just say, Rob, we've got 43 people in the chat already. That's fantastic. Obviously, if you haven't already, give the video a like and make sure you're subscribed. We really appreciate it, guys. So great to have you all on board.
Yeah, really appreciate likes. Honestly, gets it out to more people as well, and hopefully we provide some content which is kind of helpful.
I think so, hopefully. But yeah, so I'm definitely eyeing up probably Pope to Martinez. That's one move I've got in mind. And obviously, we still don't know, do we, if Aston Villa are going to have the extra fixture in 28. Pope be looking less likely now, perhaps. I don't know. But I think Martinez with a game in 29, I want to get him in. All right, the second thing I'm thinking about is Fernandes out for Son. All right, so Grealish obviously missing again. I mean, that's just been a saga that's never ending. The hope is that Grealish is actually back for 29. I don't care if he misses these. If he's back for 29, that's what I need him for. But Fernandes to Son, I mean, it really appeals. Honestly, people are going on about Gareth Bale. Let's talk about Gareth Bale versus Son. Which one to go for? Because I think a few guys in the chat have the same, thinking. I'll just give my thoughts first. So I actually think that Gareth Bale will help Son, because I think previously teams knew how to play Tottenham, right? So Kane would sit back, Son would go forward, and teams knew if they just mark Kane out of the game, nothing's going to happen, and they know Son's going to run in behind. As soon as they put Gareth Bale in this team in the form he is, it's changed everything, because now teams have to look at Gareth Bale on that side. And you saw in the Burnley game, there was just massive space for Bale to take advantage of, and that's why he did so well. So it's going to create more room for Son and Bale. And the reason why I prefer Son over Bale is because with Bale, he's probably going to play 65, 70 minutes. And I think I saw an interesting point on, I think it was Black Box, they were saying that Mourinho subs are exactly the same every game. So now Bale's playing, he will always come off, and Dombele will always come off, and I think Mora or whoever's in the 10 will always come off. And that's so true. So Son is going to get 90 minutes. In those last 10 minutes when teams are tired, he can run in behind, he can do well. I think Son is about to do really well. So Fernandes to Son is definitely in my thoughts. The issue is, Fernandes is a fantastic asset. I have a lot of money saved up on him. Do I want to make that move now? So do I do Martinez in for Pope, or do I do Fernandes to Son, or do I do both and take a hit? But I'm really against hits, and I just don't. I'm not keen. What do you think?
Yeah, I think firstly, the Bale Son debate, I think, is one of those situations again where we have been caught up in the midst of one particular game week. So I covered it on our Monday stream where I spoke about the Bale and Son kind of dilemma of what to go for. And honestly, you only have to look at the stats really. So in the game against Burnley, obviously Bale scored 2 goals, took the headlines, and I think there was a lot of talk about going for Bale. But when you actually look at the underlying stats, I'm going to throw some stats out here because I don't usually do it. So everybody in the chat, brace yourself because this is a one-off. Okay, so here we go.
Here it is.
So Bale, non-pen XG plus XA, so that's expected goals plus expected assists, 0.78 versus Burnley. Son posted a 1.97 against Burnley. Okay, so really straight away there, you only have to look at the underlying stats to see that he outperformed Bale, and I think it was just a case of unlucky not to get more. Then against Fulham, we got Son at 0.99 non-pen XG plus XA, Gareth Bale 0.07. Okay, so really the game that everybody talked about Gareth Bale being back, Son still outperformed him in the underlying stats. So for me, that kind of nips it in the bud. Son is pretty much a similar price. He's 50% owned, so you're covering that potential of being absolutely destroyed by his rank. And also, I think he's nailed in terms of minutes. I think Gareth Bale, you're owning him and then potentially gets rotated or fitness issues. So if you're debating between Son or Bale, of course, Bale, world-class player, he could blow up at any time, but Son, long-term, is the pick.
Nacho, that was very impressive, mate. It's almost like you've been to school and just, where's that been?
Resources, only the time out.
Oh, good. No, I agree. I think Son is definitely the much better option. I think he's more consistent, and he's a great finisher. Do you think Bale starts most of the next few games?
I think he starts. I think he does start, but what he returns, I don't think will be the same as Son. And I think if you're having the strategy of building a squad for game week 29, you need assurance that your player is going to be starting that game, and maximize the points potential there. And I think Son is the guy for that. So looking at your teammate, I do think that Fernandes to Son is a solid move. I wouldn't necessarily play your second transfer for a points hit. I think Fernandes to Son covers your strategy for a game week 29 squad. And I think if Fernandes blows up against Man City, you can put your hands up and say that was just unexpected, because it does none of the kind of form or underlying stats points to a haul.
So you would say bring Son in for Fernandes this week, and then next week do Pope to Martinez.
Yeah, I think if you want to take the -4 hit, and again, if you do take a points hit, you want to look at a longer term strategy. I think Martinez does reward you in the longer term, but for this particular game week, then I don't think you necessarily have to make that move.
Guys in the chat, let me know what you think. Do you think my transfer this week should be Pope to Martinez, or do you think I should do Fernandes to Son, or both? You make a really good case actually, because I think I've got to take one of my heavy hitters out of midfield, even when it comes to, I've got to take one of Fernandes or Salah out in 20, because I can't go into 29 without Son. I'm sure everyone else is the same. He's going to be so highly owned. Yeah, I think he's got to come in. So one of them's got to go. So timing suggests now is the right time. A few people in the chat asking, so Jevon and someone else asking, KS asked about Watkins to Antonio. Now, yeah, I used to have Antonio. I'd love to have Antonio for this week, but I can't get rid of Ollie Watkins now. They might have a double next game week, and he plays in 29. Without Grealish, he is suffering, but he's just, my transfers need to go elsewhere. I'm focusing on 29 and getting the team out for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think he delivered everything that we spoke about. He can score against anybody, and the reason he got sold was because of potential injuries and kind of that sort of reason. But I think if you own Antonio, he's a definite hold. I think it's a bit sideways doing Watkins to Antonio, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's talk about Cancelo. I think Cancelo could do really well. I think he's going to have a really big game week. I've just got a feeling this is going to be his game week. I think it's coming, isn't it? I think he could get 2 starts. If he gets 1, I just fancy him to do well. I'm reasonably happy. I think I will do Fernandes to Son, and we'll see how I go. I'm at about 75k now, so I'm still I want to at least try and get into the top 20k, which I think is achievable. All right.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think Cancelo. I think whereas Diaz and Stones have a lower ceiling, I think Cancelo, the positions he's picking up in the team, attacking potential is there, and we know that Man City are good for at least 1 clean sheet. Don't clip that.
So Tor was asking the show, so would you guys consider doing the old format again alongside live streams once lockdown ends? Miss the challenges. We miss the challenges too. So yeah, basically we will, hopefully next season, we're hoping to get back in the studio and do the studio filming and actually do live streams then. We could also look at what we might do is do, live streams in the studio on a Monday, and then maybe when we're at home on the Friday like this, just do a live stream from home. So We'll see how we get on. But yeah, let us know what you think of the stream. Let us know, any questions you have. And yeah, we're going to do a Q&A in a bit as well. So we're going to go through all your questions and try and help you with your teams.
Yep.
All right. So let's have a look at your team, Nacho. Tell us what you're thinking for the next game week.
Yes, let's just have a look, because I'm currently going into this game week with 1 free transfer, and I have a bit of money in the bank as well, so I kind of have a bit of options here. But for me, you know what? I want you to drink. For me personally,
everyone take a drink. He said, "For me personally."
Yeah. So complete same position as you right now. Have Bruno and Salah with a team building up for a game week 29 squad. So I don't really have any headaches here. I think Fernandes out to Son is going to be my move. I think it ticks all the boxes for me. I don't expect Fernandes to score heavy over the next 2 game weeks. And I think Son could, especially in home game against Crystal Palace. 2 clean sheets they did have back-to-back, but I still don't think they're going to be up for much against Spurs. So, and I like the return of Dele Alli as well. I think that's only going to, improve Spurs going forward in an attacking sense, kind of a bit more free reign going forward. So, yeah, I do think that my move is going to be mainly, oh my God, mate, what is my move? I just forgot it. Fernandes to Son. As I mentioned, it's going to be another game week where I hold Trent. I can't believe it. He's sitting there, but Fulham aren't necessarily free scoring. So I think there's potential here for Trent to possibly get a clean sheet. And I'm in the same position as you right now. Obviously, the goalkeeper situation with McCarthy and Pope. Currently sat on McCarthy, but I think Pope's going to come in if there's any hint of him possibly getting rotated again for Forster.
Yeah, no, I think your team looks good, doesn't it? I mean, so you'll play Pope, you say, this game week, and then you'll do the Martinez transfer next week as well, suspect.
Yeah. Sorry, apologies for obviously the screen right now. I wouldn't be having my captaincy either on Kane. I think I'll be leaning to Gundogan as well for my captaincy. But
let's talk about captaincy a minute. Let's talk about who we think is the best captain for this game week. So I think Gundogan is the best captain this game week. I think, yes, I mean, the first thing to say is if you've got a City player, you probably should put on a City player because they got a double game week. The problem is the defenders, it's so difficult to tell who's going to get 2 games. And it's not like Gundogan where he can come on and maybe get an assist. Those defenders need to play from the start, don't they, to get clean sheet points. So that's too tricky for me. I mean, if you have Ederson, I'd maybe put it on Ederson. But yeah, I mean, Cancelo, if you really want. But I Stones and... I mean, Diaz does play most games. So I think if you don't have Gundogan, maybe Diaz is the next best option. But I think Gundogan is a really great option for this game week. I think he's due, you know? I mean, his shooting stats are really good. His finishing is actually really, really good. And he's actually at the top with like Aubameyang and Kane is, you know, so I think Gundogan is definitely the best captain this game week. I mean, would you consider, you know, for those people who maybe don't have Gundogan or De Bruyne, would you consider captaining a single game week player? And if so, which one would it be?
Yeah. I think definitely there are single game week potentials. I think Harry Kane's obviously the one that's screaming out right now. Although we didn't necessarily have a mega haul in the double game week, there was definitely points left on the table in that game week. So I saw plenty from Harry Kane to think that he could easily pick up a few goals in that Crystal Palace fixture. But outside of that, really, I just think play it safe. If you have a double game week and you have a Man City asset, I think that it is a safe pick to go for them. I'm just looking at the single game week fixtures. Otherwise, I can't believe that Salah captain is not even coming to my mind, but it just really isn't right now. I think there's too much uncertainty about the team, the player. The return of Jota, of course, could improve him, but it also could mean at the expense of Salah if Klopp's had enough when we just don't know enough detail. So I think really, I think the captaincy has to be a Man City asset or a Spurs asset, because otherwise, again, Chelsea assets are going to be a tricky one against Everton. We're looking at, obviously, Villa, tricky game against Wolves. So yeah, I do think that Man City assets are just a way to go forward this game week.
By the way, it is the FPL fan show derby on Monday. It's Everton-Chelsea. Now, early in the season, Everton beat Chelsea, and I was absolutely ecstatic. This is going to be a fantastic game because two sides really in form. Talk to me about Chelsea assets, because I know a lot of people are thinking about them for maybe their game week 31 wildcard. Now, Tuchel, is it Tuchel? I think it's Tuchel. He's doing a really fantastic job.
Me for pronunciation?
Yeah, I mean, why I'm asking you? What is that about? God. Victor's with another super chat. What a man! Although he has put "You'll never walk alone," knowing that I'm an Everton fan. I mean, that's but no. I'll have a beer. Thank you, Victor. Really appreciate. Very kind.
Thank you, Victor.
But yeah, no, that's very, very kind of him. Tuchel has transformed that Chelsea side. Now they look so much more solid. So just I mean, I've very much got an eye on Rudiger and Mason Mount. I think for people who are wildcarding in 31 or maybe free hitting in 29, those are the two players I think you should be bringing in. I think they look fantastic. Yeah, just tell me your thoughts.
Yeah. For those who aren't watching, really, I wouldn't say that necessarily Chelsea have become this free-flowing kind of team that are tearing up teams apart. There certainly is far from that. I think what we've got right now is a team who are very, very conscious of what they are doing. Whereas under Lampard, it was kind of a bit, get into the final third and just do your job. I think from goalkeeper to forward, they have a game plan. They have a sort of strategy and structure that they're sticking to, and that has meant that the defense are posting unbelievable underlying stats. So for a Liverpool team to not even have a shot on target until I think it was the 85th minute kind of highlights the position that they're in right now. And I think exactly what you said. I think Rudiger at 4.6 million, 4.7 million, whatever he is now, he just offers unbelievable value. And again, talking about possibly selling players, the likes of Fernandes and losing value, these value players going into the back end of the season could really help you afford back into the likes of Fernandes if you are worried. So definitely the best defender is Rudiger. There's too much risk about Reece James and Chilwell going forward. I would love to say that Timo Werner is an FPL option, but he just isn't right now. He doesn't justify his price bracket unless we see something at the back end of the season. Again, it's just too much. Now, Mason Mount, this guy gets wrecked on social media, and I'm so happy that he is just delivering what he has done all season. He doesn't even need to justify himself, but it seems like finally even the biggest haters are finally justifying it, and they have no argument. And he's been one of our best players all season. Whether he's an FPL asset, I still think he's a good player, and I think he could definitely come into your side for the back end of the season. But I wouldn't rush him in. Yeah,
no, I echo your sentiments. CJ, thank you for the super chat. Really kind, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Chelsea assets are really interesting. I think Rudiger is the first name. I mean, Tom brought him in this week, said he was on his bench boost. So he's been fantastic for games. I think he's 4.6 million. I mean, their defensive stats are pretty much as good, maybe not quite, but as good nearly as Man City.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to stay that way. Also, the big thing is, Tuchel rotates a lot, but he seems to play most games, which is a mad turnaround from where he was. So I think Rudiger will be the first one on my list. I think if you're really looking for a differential, I do like Mason Mount. Maybe, I mean, just for his kind of set piece ability, and he's kind of an attacking midfielder. I think the interesting one to keep an eye on is Timo Werner, because I think he's getting there. I think, you know, for a few offside calls, he would have had a few more goals by now. And I think we're getting close to seeing the Timo Werner that we thought we were going to get. So I definitely think we should keep an eye on Timo Werner as well.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. I think just need to see a little bit more for that price range, but definitely on my radar for sure. I think if you're looking for a punt, I think mainly if you're sat at a rank which you're not happy with and you're looking for that real differential to just fly up their mini leagues, then you probably couldn't go much further wrong than him.
Victor, the man, with another super chat. I mean, that guy, unbelievable. But he said, it's hard to plan having the game week 29 in mind and wildcard in game week 30. When do we talk about wildcard game week 30? I mean, we can talk about, you know, let's talk about strategy and things like that. So, you know, game week 29, I think you just try and get 11 players out if you can. If you're wildcarding in, you know, firstly, the reason I think why most of us are thinking of wildcarding 31, not 30, is basically because a lot of the fixtures swing in 31. So teams like, I think it's Tottenham, Leeds and Aston Villa, they have a really good game in game week 30. But in 31 and onwards, their fixtures really change and they're not good. So that is why I think the best time to wildcard is 31, because you get the good games in 30 for all those players. And then 31, you wildcard them out and bring in the players with good fixtures. So that's why I do that. But yeah, I think that looking ahead, I mean, we'll talk about this in other streams, but I think you've got to look at Wolves players. I mean, there's probably only one. Neto. I think Arsenal are worth keeping an eye on. Maybe Saka. Who else? I mean, maybe Everton. Chelsea, definitely Rudiger. So... yeah, I mean, Tom agrees about Werner in the chat as well. I think a few people know, I think Werner is about to kind of go big, so he's a good one. But yeah, all right. So should we do a Q&A for everyone in the chat?
Yes, let's do it. They have been patiently waiting long enough, so we appreciate everybody who's been watching. Yeah, it's brilliant. 41 people currently watching. Really, really appreciate it, guys. Hope you're enjoying it. As we said, hit the like button just so more people can catch up. But yeah, let's try and answer some of the most popular questions. So if there's anything you guys have answered that we haven't got to, please fire away, and we'll try and get to them. Yeah,
definitely. I did see one earlier, but it'd be good to talk about Harvey Barnes, because I know a lot of people brought in Harvey Barnes, which is a real shame that his injury. I mean, who's the best Harvey Barnes replacement?
On the spot there, the spot. Okay, so Harvey Barnes replaces. I think again, it totally depends on the strategy that you're going for. So if you were looking for a game week 29 free hit, not free hit, a team without a free hit, then I think Rafinha is an excellent option. That Leeds side, I think he's too good for his actual value. So I think he's a brilliant asset going forward. Again, if you have the money in the bank, then of course going up into the likes of Son is of course, but that's a luxury move. But I think Rafinha is absolutely top of my list. I think if Aston Villa do get confirmed their double game week and we do get good news about Grealish, then again he is a brilliant asset to bring in. But I wouldn't be desperate to bring in anyone else outside of that. Maybe Saka at Arsenal. I know we're both pretty keen on Saka at Arsenal.
We are, yeah. I mean, if I go through who I think are the best Barnes replacements, Tom D in the chat, he says Lingard. Lingard's definitely an option. I mean, obviously he doesn't play against United in the next game week, but if you can bench him, I think he's a really good option for 29. I like Lingard. I think if you haven't got Rafinha, that's your first port call, because I think he's just superb value and he's got the 29 fixture. I do like Saka from Arsenal. I think he could do well. So I'd probably go in order Rafinha, then maybe Lingard, and then Saka. Okay. Yeah. So AD is asking what to do with Sterling. I think if you got Sterling, you just keep him. It's just one of them. You just got to, maybe get Gundogan as well. But yeah, I think keep Sterling.
Yeah, definitely keep Sterling. He could be a real great differential this game week. Wouldn't bring him in, but if you own him, definitely keep him.
Yeah. Okay. So Scott is asking, should I sell Rodriguez for Gundogan? Oh, I think I would, because Gundogan does have the double game week, and with Rodriguez, I know myself as an Everton fan, there's always injury worries, isn't there? Okay, so one for you, mate. So Zaki says, hey lads, will Bruno do well versus West Ham in 28? Is it too risky to go without him? Yeah, what do you think about 28? Because who is maybe the best captain option in that game? Do you think Bruno can do well against West Ham? What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Again, when we're talking about selling Fernandes, this isn't a conversation about that he is turned into a bad asset and he isn't going to return. I just think when you look at a player over a 3 game week period, he has Man City, then he has let me just remind myself. Man City, who's his game week 28 game? Sorry, West Ham.
West Ham, yeah.
Blank in game week 29. The reason why we're talking about Son is because he has 3 fixtures as opposed to Fernandes is 2. Do I think he could do well against West Ham? Of course, but I've seen enough from West Ham to think that they're going to put up a decent enough test against Man United. So I think while Fernandes could easily return, I don't see enough in him to justify me keeping him.
I agree. I think Declan Rice will mark him well. He's a good man marker. I think they can keep him. I think he could get an assist or 1 goal, but it's not going to be a big haul. Yeah. So a few people, so Zaki, and you have to help me how to pronounce his name. Is it He's one of our good fans, I believe. Is it Castuba? But anyway, he says, help me with the pronunciation, people, you know. But anyway, Ben Crellin just... I know. He said, Ben Crellin just tweeted that game week 36 may be a double game week for most sides, as the Premier League plans to welcome fans back in stadiums. So that is something to bear in mind, especially when you're wildcarding, is that there's probably going to be a blank in maybe 35, 36, and then there'll be a big double game week after. So that's something we're going to have to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sanjay says, is having Mahrez a bad choice because of the bet roulette? Now, Mahrez has started 4 of the last games, but
yeah.
I just don't trust Mahrez. I really don't. I think he's the type of player, as soon as you bring him in, he'll blank or get benched. I think you just go with Gundogan, go with Kevin De Bruyne if you want. Just don't do it. It's not worth the pain. What do you think?
Yeah, totally agree. Mahrez is such a weird one because I remember he was absolutely flying once and then just disappeared off the face of the earth for like a month. As we mentioned, I think Pep he rotates all the time, but he has his favourites in his team. And I think currently De Bruyne and Gundogan from FPL perspectives are the best picks. Of course, Mahrez is a decent option, but I think when you do own him, you're having a massive caveat of potentially getting rotated down the line.
Okay. So Alex Panchuk asks, who should I play this game? Dean versus Chelsea or Rafinha versus West Ham? It's Rafinha for me, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think we talk about Digne's attacking potential, but I don't think it's necessarily there against Chelsea because I think we have a decent enough defensive record right now to kind of nullify that FPL potential. I think also, although Chelsea have been a bit blunt going forward in terms of hauling teams, I still think that we have enough to at least score against Everton. So I think Rafinha is a good option.
You watch your tone when you talk about Everton, actually. All right. Do you want to read some? Do you want to read some out?
Yes. Let's have a look. So we have got a lot to talk about in general. KDB. I think there's a lot of talk. I think we've covered him briefly, but I think there's talk about possibly is he one of the best kind of options to bring in terms of a differential option or captaincy. I think we've mainly covered that in terms of I think that he is definitely an excellent option, but I think at half the price, Gundogan is a better pick. I think we share the same. Yeah,
definitely. Just I got slated for my pronunciation, but our good friend says I can call him KP now. So my apologies, KP. Thank you for being such a gentleman. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that definitely helped us out for sure. We got one from Jessmar has asked Traore as a Barnes replacement.
I like Traore, but I think the problem is he often comes off around the 70-minute mark. I think you're better off maybe waiting until Grealish is back if you're going to go with another Villa midfielder. He's not a bad option, but I think there might be better out there.
Yeah, so I think the big thing there is if they do get a double game week announced in game week 28, I think that offers completely different potential there. So that he could be an excellent option, but again, monitor the kind of FPL community world to kind of get an idea of whether that does happen. But if it does, could be a really good transfer. But that one you're going to have to kind of be patient on.
So Nuclear Atoms asks, who should I start, Dean, Watkins, or DCL? That's an interesting one. What do you think?
So is that... Repeat that again, mate. Sorry.
Who should I start, Dean, Watkins, or DCL? So I think, oh God, it would be between Watkins and DCL for me. That is very, very hard.
Yeah,
Watkins at very push.
Yeah, I would probably go Watkins, and that's only because I value the Chelsea defence so highly right now. I think I will go Watkins.
Yeah. Okay, so Tom D is asking, are you both dead ending your teams into 29 or do one of you still hold free hit? So I've used all my chips. So I am literally dead ending my team to 29, wildcarding in 31, which I think you're the same. Is that right?
Yeah, totally same strategy. I think a lot of people are in a similar boat. I think if you do have your free hit chip, then it could be a real advantage going forward. But yeah, both same boat, going to be wildcarding probably in game week 31, dead end in game week 29. So if you haven't already started planning, really start tailoring them transfers towards a game week 29 squad.
Yeah. People keep getting your questions in. Do you want to read some more out, Nacho?
Yeah, we got one from Sanjay asked, can't get Bale off my mind. Sounds like the start to a song almost, but is Rashford to Bale a good move?
Oh, yeah, it is an all right move actually. I think if you can do Son, if you do Rashford to Son, I'd definitely do that. But if you haven't got the money for Son, yeah, I do like that move. I think with United's fixtures and the blank, I think it's a good move. KP, our friend, is watching at 1:30 a.m. in India, staying up to watch our mugs, Nacho. Can you believe that? What a man. God.
That is some serious commitment. I appreciate that big time because we just I think we provide good value, but to stay up for 1:30 a.m, that's good going, so we appreciate it, mate.
Okay, so Zaki's got one for me. He says, Prince, DCL blank again. How long before we stop saying, but he's got a double coming up? Well, you see, Zaki, if we actually go back a stream, I did say on the last one, did I not? Okay, can we just talk about how correct all my predictions were for the last game week? Everything I called right. I said Kevin De Bruyne is not a good triple captain. There's not enough there. Correct. I said Luca Dean's a fantastic option. Bring him in. I said Richarlison, he's the one to bring in. He looks a fantastic differential. And I said Calvert-Lewin, he's a good option, but he's too risky to triple captain. He's too unreliable. I mean, what more do they want?
Bloody hell, mate. You're getting a bigger head than me. No. I totally agree. I love that the Richarlison punt came in for you, mate, because you justified that point there big time. But yeah, I think
Calvert-Lewin. All right, I should give my thoughts on Calvert-Lewin. Okay, Calvert-Lewin, he is a bit of a worry for people, and there's a couple of reasons why I actually think he is a potential sell for people. I honestly really do. You won't believe I'm saying this. There's two big reasons. In the last game, I believe Calvert-Lewin is very much a confidence player. And I think in the last couple of weeks, he's looked just not quite right. And I think in the West Brom game, he kind of missed a one-on-one that he'd usually score. He just didn't look himself. Now, the other key factor, and it's about Richarlison. Richarlison is now playing further forward right next to Calvert-Lewin. So Calvert-Lewin is not as central as he was before. So he's now been impacted by Richarlison. So do you know what? I mean, if you're looking to get to like Kane or Antonio or Bamford, not the worst moves. He's okay, and Everton's fixtures are okay, but yeah, I mean, he's just. What do you think about Calvert-Lewin?
Yeah, again, if they get announced for a double game week in 28, then he goes from a decent asset to a really, really good option going forward, and possibly a captaincy option in game week 28. But I really do think that I wouldn't be bringing him in right now unless that gets announced.
Yeah. So I think it's Pritchard. Sorry for the pronunciation. Thoughts on Werner with Chelsea?
I think we've got another bloody super chat from Victor.
Victor's going nuts. I think he's got to sponsor the FPL fan show. Can't believe it. Victor, I'll be getting in a few more beers. That's so incredibly kind. Honestly, we are genuinely very touched. He says,
unbelievable. Thank you very much, mate.
He says, I have on the bench DCL, Dean, Alonso. At the moment, keeping Rafinha. Should I consider one of the bench instead of Rafinha? My pleasure to offer drink. We are really very humbled, definitely. Okay, so bench DCL, Dean, Alonso. At the moment, keeping Rafinha. I think I play Rafinha out of those. I play Rafinha, and then the next would be Alonso, because I do, bias aside, I do think Chelsea got a better chance of giving a clean sheet than Everton. But yeah, I played Rafinha out of those. What do you think?
Yeah, totally agree. I think Rafinha is your best pick there. I think that Leeds, although they had a dodgy previous game week, I think that they have potential to kind of turn up in any fixture. So whereas I think Chelsea just show that they can shut up shop against most teams. So yeah, I'm going to say Rafinha as well. Again, thank you, Victor, because that is super generous.
The chat can't believe, by the way, that I've even talked about selling Calvert-Lewin. You can tell I've had a drink, because that would never happen usually. That's you said for me personally all those bloody times.
Oh, I love it. We got a quick question from Nuclear Atoms was asked, Should I bring in Tierney this week or bring in Dallas instead before game week 29?
Do you know what? Because I've felt so much pain from Dallas and I know what it's like, I think I'd bring in Dallas because of the attacking. I do like Tierney, he's a good option, but Dallas just seems to pop up with these goals every bloody time.
Absolutely kills me.
Yeah, kills me. Absolutely kills me. But Nuclear Atom says the FPL fan show is getting all the greens tonight. Correct. Okay. Ryan asks, shall I play Dean or Dallas this week? What do you reckon of that one? So
Play Dallas or Digne this week.
Oh, that's tough. That is really tough. Because I fancy West Ham and Chelsea to score. Do you know what? I think at very push I'd go Dean. Well, that's very tough though.
Yeah, it's super contradictive, isn't it? Because we spoke about Digne not really getting a clean sheet or attacking returns against the Chelsea team, but the Leeds defence, I do not bank them keeping a clean sheet against West Ham. As we mentioned, Dallas is popping up in different areas, so I think they're very similar assets where you're owning them not really for the clean sheet potential, but potential attacking return. I kind of look at it and think when you have that opportunity there, I hate benching premium assets, and Digne for me would probably be the start. But yeah, that's my view.
Just saying, our friend KP in India said he bought Dean based on my tip. Heard that right.
Wow.
Okay.
I was going to say we have a quick one from the Hombre, Rafinha or Jay Lings for this week.
Oh, that's tough. I think I go Rafinha just because he's on all the set pieces, but they're both good options. If you can play both, play both. Because that's got goals all over that game.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think if you are picking that transfer as well for a bit of a longer term, you're not having Lingard in game week 28 because of his Man United association. So I think Rafinha is going to repay you over the coming game weeks.
Tom asked a good question. He said, would it be good to suggest some players who are good to pick up from now until 29? Looking at players like Dunk, Cresswell, Saka, Tierney, Spurs, Villa, best. Okay, so who's the best players to own from now until 29? There's fast. So I think Spurs, you got Kane, Son, Bale, Reguilon.
Yeah,
I think I'd go
100%.
Kane, Son, Reguilon if you're going to go 3. Villa, what we saying? Watkins, Grealish if he's back.
Yeah.
What about you? Like Target, don't you?
Yeah, I think Matt Target's an excellent option. If you haven't jumped on the Martinez train and his price is kind of slipping away from you in terms of team value, I think there's still excellent value in Target. So I think Target's a great option. I think if Jack Grealish gets announced that he's going to be fit, then I think he's a really good option as well. And I think as well, we spoke about Brighton's defence. Their numbers are finally catching up with their underlying stats. And I think Dunk is a decent option as well. It's just we don't know what Brighton's going to turn out. They still post great stats, but then they could get beat and see 2 goals. So they're a tricky one, but I think they are going to be a good differential for those kind of people who aren't really planning for this double game week.
I think triple Leeds again is a must. I think if you can, Dallas, Bamford, Rafinha. I've got Eiling, but I'd like Dallas. But yeah, I think those 3. And West Ham, Antonio definitely, Lingard, Souček, Soufal. I think they're all good options. So those would be the players I'd be targeting. Okay, so let's have a look at some others. So Alex asks your thoughts on who will take 2nd, 3rd and 4th place overall. Do Everton or West Ham, will they surpass the likes of Spurs and Liverpool? Now, this is, I think, the most interesting part of the season this year. Who's going to get top 4 and who's going to get top 6? Because it's so open. Well, you say your thoughts first, mate. What do you think?
For top 4?
Yeah, top 4. Go on, do top 4 and then we say who we think get top 6.
I'm going to make a brave call here and say Man City are going to win the league.
Proper muppet you are.
No, I think without knowing the league off the top of my head in terms of the points difference, I think Chelsea are going to nick the top 4. I think the form that they're in, I think they are the form team right now, so I think they're going to be in there. I think Man United will sneak in there. I think the 4th team's totally up for grabs. I think it's whichever team can really capitalise in the next 8 game weeks. I think Arsenal left it way too late. I think they can't sneak in there. I think Leicester have lost big players in their side. I don't expect them to necessarily maintain their form. So yeah, I think them 3 are definitely, and then it's up for grabs on the 4th one.
Yeah, I actually think the top 4, to be boring, might be quite simple. I think obviously City will win it, and then I think it'll be United, and then I'm thinking, do you know what? Chelsea are going to get top 4. I definitely agree. I think Chelsea will be 3rd or 4th. Leicester's tricky. I think Leicester will be 5th or 6th. Yeah, it is tough. I don't know. So we've got City, United, Chelsea. I'd still think Liverpool will sneak. I think they'll get fourth, and then I think I think Everton will get sixth. I'd be very happy with sixth.
Yeah, I think if Van Dijk emerges from the shadows with his Superman cape and saves Liverpool, then there's potential there. But I just don't see enough from Liverpool right now. They really got to find some gear quick, otherwise they're in trouble getting that top four.
Saki said, Nacho, Man City to win the league. I think you've had too many beers tonight. Yeah, you've clearly been drinking too much, Nacho. You want to watch it, mate?
I think it's the only sensible thing I've said tonight.
Okay, no, brilliant. Do you want to read a couple more out? See what else we got.
Let's talk about. I think they were talking about possibly Aubameyang for Gameweek 29. Yeah. I think I can't find it in the chat right now. Apologies if I am missing.
Shiv asked about it. So what about Aubameyang in Gameweek 29?
Yeah. Again. Sorry, you go, mate.
Yeah, Aubameyang's. I think he's got a good fixture this week, but I think the fixtures around it are quite tricky. So he's a good punt. But do we trust him enough? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
I think he's the exact player who, again, we've mentioned it. If you are in a rank where you are like you can't even look at it, and you are absolutely, you need players who are just going to potentially absolutely rocket you up their leagues. Then Aubameyang is that perfect example. He's outrageously overpriced this season. However, we know that he has an FPL history. Arsenal are probably on the up, and I think they have good fixtures, but it's the exact same situation with the KDB Gundogan situation. I really can't understand buying Aubameyang when you have Saka at half the price, similar underlying stats.
Same as De Bruyne Gundogan, isn't it?
Yeah, I would go Saka, and I think if Aubameyang hits form, then it's one of those where I don't think the underlying stats have suggested that he's ever going to find that right now. So yeah, I think. I've just read the chat. We got
the chat
Alex
is hilarious right now. I'm just going to go through some of the chat comments. So our friend KP says, I just want Everton to finish above Chelsea and then can't wait for Conor to rule up or rub up Nacho. Mate, if Everton finish above Chelsea, you are dead. You're absolutely dead, mate. It was bad enough when the one game I went to last season was Everton-Chelsea. The stick I was giving it was fantastic. Honestly, one of the best times of my life.
KP, I will say this exclusively. If Everton finish above Chelsea, I will wear an Everton shirt for the opening episode of the following season.
Oh yes, come on Everton. Everyone's got to root for Everton now.
We got a chat by Alex asking for me to pronounce the Tottenham left back. Right, here we go.
Go on, give it to them. Give it to them, Nacho.
Let's just talk about it firstly. Regulion sounds cooler. Let's just accept that. Regulion is a much cooler name. But if we want to be boring, then of course Region is.
The moment in the chat a week or two ago when you go, you just drop in Regulion like it's the freshest Italian pasta I've ever seen. I do love Nacho's Southwest. I'm from the Southwest, but it's nothing like you. Like you're full on Wurzel. Do you know what I mean? You are, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm literally looking at cows and tractors, mate.
Oh god, Tom D says, "Love the chat, guys. Appreciate the Q&A. Good luck this game. Good luck to you too, Tom. Thank you."
Yeah.
God, people are excited about Everton finishing above Chelsea now. God, come on.
I'm going to regret that so bad.
I know. Right, we'll do a couple more questions, guys. Send in your questions and then we'll head off because Nacho's got a new puppy. He's been going on about all bloody week. It's worse than a child. Nacho, we're going to do the chat. I've got my puppy. Right, so and a few in. But,
obviously, great. Puppy's great, but be ready for no sleep. That's what I'm saying.
Mate, you're getting slated about Regulion again. Regulion. Region.
Oh, wow, look at this. I'm getting absolutely battered.
Mate, you're more battered than a fish on here. It's great. They want to see the puppy.
Next time. Time. Only because she'll be up and then I'm going to be crying after the stream. So next time for sure.
I think...
a bit of clickbait, mate.
Mate, the puppy's gone nuts. I think everyone agrees we'll get more sense. I tell you what, that puppy could pronounce Region better than you can.
Well, yeah, 100%. I think anybody could, to be honest with you. But funny enough, if we were going to have a boy, it would have been Nacho, but it didn't. Unfortunately.
Oh, that's very cute. That is really cute. So Shy Guy saying, where's the red and blue light? Well, we'll be back in the studio, hopefully next season. So the fancy setup, the 4K, will be back. Oh my God, Victor just sent in another super chat.
Victor, my man.
Victor, I feel like you were going all out. So great show, guys. I'll watch the rest later. Time to put the kids to bed. Once again, great show, and thank you for answers. Last beer is for Liverpool top 4. Do you know what? That's the nicest Liverpool fan I think I've ever met in my life. And I have family who are Liverpool fans, so that's how nice Victor is. Now, I actually do I think Liverpool, they have some good fixtures kind of at the end, and I do think they'll kind of get it together. So I think they'll sneak fourth, but it's close. I do think they'll sneak fourth.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no, thank you, Victor. That's super generous. Yeah. Thank you, mate.
So Sanjay says, is it time to invest in defenders because they've been returning more than attackers recently? Defenders saved me from a horrendous double game week 26. Interesting question, actually, because defenders have been doing a lot better recently, haven't they? Are we looking at defenders more now? I mean, there's quite a few. We look at like Luca Dean, Reguilon. I mean, is there any others you got your eye on? Or
yeah, I think defenders are always those where they always come back round, don't they? We talk at the start of the season. We talk about is anybody going to keep a clean sheet, and then eventually things just kind of level out, and defenders show that they have serious potential because they're always good value. When you find one that has attacking and clean sheet potential, we get some great value. In terms of defenders that I'm eyeing up, I think there's no one that I'm really screaming out to me right now. Of course, like, let me know in the chat if I am missing anyone that is glaringly obvious. But over the next coming game weeks, I don't see serious value in defence, fun enough, apart from Man City. And really, that's it, mate. Let me know, as I mentioned, if I'm missing anyone there. But for the coming 2 game weeks, I don't see any serious value in the defence. But I think going forward, the strategy is always decent, targeting defenders.
Do you know what? We have so many Liverpool fans who are fans of the show, and that must show what a fantastic host I am, Nacho. As an Everton fan, to be able to say this non-biased and just, Shiv has sent in the super chat saying, one more from a Liverpool fan. What a super show, guys. Thank you so much, Shiv. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No, we seriously appreciate it. Thank you. But please, guys, please bring back the bullying of Conor, please.
No. And also, guys, what did you think of Nacho's show? So Nacho did a little show on his own earlier in the week. I think he did really well, mate, actually.
I was lonely. It was so lonely.
I know. Zach is saying, Ben Crellin says, there's chances of Villa Everton in 28 are about 10%. So it looks like Villa Everton in...
Okay, that's good to know.
But I mean, it's good to know because it probably means those 2 teams will look at more when we wildcard in 31. I think Aston Villa, I say that, Aston Villa have a really difficult run at the end of the season, but Everton's is okay, so it's worth bearing in mind, actually.
Yeah.
And John just asked, who should I swap Barnes for? So we covered that earlier. I think kind of Rafinha, Gundogan, Saka. So yeah, that's it. Okay, so I think, should we wrap up there, mate?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, sorry if we missed any questions, but as always, we do a last deadline kind of tweet where we answer any last minute questions. So be sure to head over to our Twitter if you ever need any last minute advice.
Yeah, no, definitely. And obviously, guys, if you've enjoyed the video, please please subscribe. It really does help us. We want to get this out there. And also, we actually just love chatting with you guys in the chat. It's really nice. I really enjoy doing these live streams. You do as well, naturally, don't you?
Yeah, I think when we ever do the studio stuff, we absolutely love it, and I know you guys love it. But for us, when we get to do these live streams and just chat to you guys in the comments, we enjoy just having the opportunity to do that. So we love it, and I'm glad that people are actually enjoying it, really. So it's been really refreshing for us.
We literally get the best comments on this show. We've got Nuclear Atom saying, all it's missing was Nacho eating fresh pasta. Completely agree. AD Tor saying, for me personally, it's been a great show. I'll drink to that. And then KP, the man in India, but probably about 2 a.m. in India. What a man he is. Saying, love the banter between you guys. That's the best part of the show. That's our favourite part, is winding each other up, definitely. And we love FPL, and we love chatting with you guys.
Yeah.
So, Hombre, thank you. Yeah, thank you, everyone in the chat. Really appreciate it. Send your comments. Give us a like. Comment to us on social media. We'll be back next week. As I said, Nacho, you'll probably be doing a Q&A on your own, I expect, next week. Alex, hands down, the best FPL live streams. That's right, we are. We're going to keep flying next year. Back in the studio. We're going all out. We're going for it. Sanjay, the show is gold. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your lovely comments. Let's hope we have a good game week. Final words, Nacho?
No, as always, guys, all the best. Thank you for the kind support. And yeah, let's just hope we have a better game week than that dreadful double game week.
It can only go up from here. Have a good game week, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.